Let us move on and zoom in on Indiana here. Let us look at what we talked about the gifts a year of Trumpism has bestowed upon the world and the country. Let us look at what jolly old Saint Nicholas has brought to Indiana in 2025. So now we did receive some recognition this week. The Washington Post naming Indiana their State of the Year for all the wrong reasons. And let me read here. So this op-ed openly celebrates a sort of pre-MAGA Republican orthodoxy, low taxes, deregulation, weakened unions, school privatization, zoning rollbacks, and austerity, presenting these kind of policies as responsible governance, while ignoring that this exact governing model dominated Republican politics for 30 to 40 years and directly produced the economic inequality, institutional decay, and public rage that made MAGA inevitable. We had this honor bestowed upon us for basically doing all of those typically generic Republican things, but, resisting Trump procedurally, right? Pushing back symbolically in this gerrymandering scheme. Again, while still embracing all of his policy substance, refusal to, use of universal school vouchers, charter expansion, spending cuts, all these policies that hollow out public institutions and feed the people's wealth to private interests. I think the article's core argument is essentially historical amnesia. It treats MAGA as a deviation caused by a personality, right? By the one great man and his tone, rather than as the logical outcome of decades of pro-business, anti-regulatory governance that strips states like Indiana of our capacity to do things and undermine democracy and convince millions of people that government works only for the wealthy. And hey, guess what? They're right. And MAGA claims to push back on this, but they also just work for the wealthy. Did you guys see this? Tabitha, did you see this WAPO article? Like, I think it is typical Amazon Jeff Bezos slop. Call me wrong.
Honestly, I barely even read like traditional news anymore. I just don't, because I think it's all bullshit. And I don't want to hear from any of these rich people that are using their money and opinions and influence to try and like put a worm in the ear of all my friends and neighbors. Like, I'm looking for these boots on the ground experiences, and that's where I get my news. So no, I didn't like read it.
Well, let me tell you. You didn't
Tell
miss
me about
anything.
it.
I mean, Jesse, you saw this when Bezos and the Washington Post made their pivot after the last Trump win. Whatever happened to democracy dies in darkness. Instead, they threw that out the window, and they're like, we're gonna focus on pro-market, small tax, anti-regulatory stuff, and that's going to be the opinion of their editorials. And well, I mean, they told the truth, I guess. What did you think of this article? Indiana, State of the Year? Woohoo!
Yeah, no. And for exactly the reasons that you mentioned, right? So, Trump talked about draining the swamp, right? And that was supposed to be how he, pivoted and how he, claimed to be different from the past. But he is very much a swamp creature. And it's that same miasma of swamp vapors that continues to be exuded throughout his, entire regime. And so, yes, this time, state senators decided not to totally bow to Trump while Trump's minions were like threatening their families with death threats and bombs. Yay for them, I guess. But that has nothing to do with whether this state is moving in the right direction, whether that's helping, families, helping working people. I was just reading the Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana's report that showed housing costs have gone up over 50% since 2019 in Marion County. Nobody I know's wages have gone up 50% since then. So that means fewer people are able to remain in homes in our capital city. How is that anything to be praised, right? Like in the richest country that's ever existed on the face of the planet, we can't manage to let working people have a safe place to lay their head. What could be a more damning indictment of our society, right? Like, we are not doing well. We should not be praised for this. And it's all choices that we could just choose to do differently.
Yeah. Chuck, they basically are arguing for MAGA without the rough edges, right? They're like, hey, can you at least not say the quiet part out loud? That's what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jesse that we are highlighted for all the bloody wrong reasons. Because I mean, yes, while we stood up to the quiet, or they want the quiet MAGA, because that's exactly what they have in the state house right now. If you look at the legislation that has been introduced right now for this legislative session, it continues the same themes, just quietly. They're trying to sneak under the radar like they do with just about everything. And so, Indiana, while we have a great college sports team, we suck in about every other measurable metric that I can see. And the only way we're going to change that is by people getting out and saying, enough's enough. Get the right folks in gear. I'd love to see somebody go up and challenge every and this is something we're focusing on here in our county, that we want to see every race challenged. We want to get everybody in there to present a challenge. I mean, even if we don't win, we still need to challenge them, because those ideas need to be out there, and people need to know that there are choices to be made. MAGA is not new. It's just a resurgence of what has happened years and years ago. It's just, unfortunately, we've forgotten our history because they've killed the educational system enough to where we don't remember these things, at least en masse anyway. So
every 4 generations, like clockwork, man, those cockroaches keep popping their heads out from under rocks, and we're like, oh, it's fine this time. They've learned their lessons. No, they never learn their lessons. And look what happens when you don't learn your lessons.